Alright everybody, welcome. My name's Alistair. Welcome to Neverwinter. We're going to look at today at the Rogue's power setups. Now, the Rogue is a really good class for AoE damage and a lot of burst damage in single target. Now, there's two Paragon paths on the Rogue. There is the Whisper Knife and there is the Assassin. Now, I personally would not use the Assassin at the moment. The Assassin is underputting damage and is very focused on melee and single target, which just holds back a little bit with range. You know, you can get a bit of range on your single target on Whisper Knife. I will make a build video on Assassin, but right now I actually don't have a build for Assassin. These are all Whisper Knife builds for different purposes. But yeah, so I'll show you the Whisper Knife build and we'll go from there. We'll come over to the powers and we're going to look at the AoE side first. So the AoE side is the Rogue's real bread and butter. They will outdo most other classes in damage in AoE because they always have combat advantage. You're going to want pretty strictly for AoE to get as much damage out as possible. You're going to want these feat setups. Shady Preparations. Entering stealth reduces your cooldowns by 2 seconds. 2 seconds off means 2 seconds off to do more damage, more encounter powers. It's just, the faster you can hit, the more times you can hit, the more damage you're going to have. Dark Reimbursements. When you use an encounter to leave stealth, you can regain 25% stealth. That's massive because your stealth is your bread and butter. That's how you're triggering a lot of your encounter power's special abilities. Return to the Shadows. When you activate an encounter power, for each target hit, refill 7.5% of your stealth bar while behind the target. This effect is increased to 10%. So if I go into combat with 5 enemies, this is going to give me, what's that, 15, 30, what's that, 37.5% more regen. Which we'll view how that works in a little bit. If I'm behind the enemies, that is 50% more regen. Combined with the Shady Preparations, which is already 25, you're going to get your stealth back sooner. And that's really important. I'll explain why in a minute. Shadowy Opportunity. When you leave stealth, you gain Shadowy Opportunity for 5 seconds. Each target you hit deals an additional hit of 130 magnitude damage. So that's basically adding 130 magnitude onto each hit for 5 seconds after leave stealth, increasing your damage output. An Ambusher's Haste. While stealth, your powers deal up to 40% more damage based on how full your stealth meter is. So you want to be using your stealth immediately. Now, stealth is useful for survival sometimes, just to run away from enemies. I've done it before. However, if we can do it, we can gain another 40% damage, which is massive. An AoE advantageous position for your class features is a bread and butter must-have. It used to be 5 seconds for 5 seconds, but it's now down to 2. It still gives you plenty of time in a large AoE setting to continuously be in combat advantage. When you leave, you gain stealth. When you leave stealth, you maintain combat advantage for 2 seconds and take 20% reduced damage from area effect and range attacks. That really helps your survivability, being super melee heavy. And over here, Tenacious Concealment, increase your stealth regeneration by 50%. Once again, that bread and butter. Sorry. Going on to daily powers. Now, your daily powers are interesting. None of your daily powers of AoE set, none of the AoE daily powers are actually any good. You are really going to be crutching on Hateful Knives. Applies combat advantage. Really nice. If you are an AoE, you have Whirlwind of Blades. 450 magnitude around you, increases damage you deal for each enemy you hit up to the first 5, which is a nice little damage bonus, but realistically adds with a rogue will die so quickly. Your daily powers aren't really going to be of much effect unless you're really just trying to squeeze out every drop of damage you can in the dungeon. Now, you might see Killing Storm and go, oh, well, that looks brilliant. It's cast time 0.2 seconds, 200 magnitude for 12 hits, negative awareness on the target. That sounds brilliant. The cast time is 0.2 seconds, but you must stay in the animation for the full duration of 10 seconds. In fact, let me pop this on so I can show you. I'll go here so I can keep my daily power. And I'll go over here to an enemy. So if you watch here, this is it's full animation. Well, I'm not going to go for the full animation because it'll take ages, but you see, actually that was the full animation. There we go. That's the full animation. Now, if I move during that, it doesn't actually finish the hits. In fact, it's not even applying these hits at all. Oh, there's some. Yeah, no. So you see, I need to stay in that in order to do the damage. Yeah, there you go. It's just not going to output as much. Yeah, it's a pretty lackluster daily power. It doesn't do what it says on the tin, to be honest. Hateful Knives is just a way more effective encounter. You just hit so much harder. You just boom, one single target hit, and it is really nice for your single target rotation. Boom, just like that. And it also is nice for the gap closure. You travel really, really far up to the enemy. But I would personally keep Whirlwind Blades on, as Killing Storm, it just doesn't trigger very well. You have to stand still for the full duration. You can't do anything else. Over here, we've got Blade Flurry, and I've got that in Y. It'll always be the first thing, and you'll always cast it from stealth. We've got Smoke Bomb, and we've got Path of Blades. You'll basically never cast these from stealth, except from in niche situations. Like the second boss of Alom or Emlond. I'll use the Smoke Bomb to actually help give people combat advantage when the enemies are at the edge of the cliff, because it gives everybody else the combat advantage damage. Now, you'll use Blade Flurry from stealth, pop in one of your encounter powers, that will refill your stealth, use Blade Flurry, use other encounter power, refill your stealth, use Blade Flurry again, therefore triggering your shadowy opportunity. That's 130 magnitude added onto each of these as well. So that's really nice. Now, for your at-wills, I use Stagheart, and I honestly use Cloud of Steel. So they're two single target at-wills. You do have one AoE one, Shuriken Toss, and I would change Cloud of Steel for that. But it's pretty negligible. Your AoE damage really comes from your encounter powers. So what we'll do is we will look at the actual rotation and see, the rotation for the encounter powers. So we'll go over to the dummies here. We'll trigger these dummies, because these dummies will actually live. And we'll go into stealth, and we'll use Blade Flurry. Combat advantage, as you can see. Blade Flurry, Smoke Bomb. It's almost back straight away. Stealth, Blade Flurry. And it's a matter of just waiting for that bar to get back to full. And if you see here, whenever I cast the encounter power after I've left stealth, it boosts. Oh, that one went full, didn't it? And you never want to be casting, let me do this again. You never want to be casting Blade Flurry without stealth, because it never goes on cooldown when you do that. Smoke Bomb brings my stealth back up. Stealth again. Blade Flurry. Path of Blades brings my stealth right back up. Stealth. Blade Flurry. Smoke Bomb. It comes right back up again. And it's the same thing over and over again. You just refill your stealth by doing that. Now, if you're in a big group with lots of enemies over the course of time, you will use that rotation. You use your Blade Flurry, there we go, Blade Flurry, which does the 330 magnitude, and its radius increased by 10 feet, and it doesn't go on cooldown, and that then allows you to always have that and reduce your cooldowns by 2 seconds because of your shady preparations. If you're going into a fight and their enemies are pretty, squishy, and you're going to move on to the next group of ads, you can do 2 Blade Flurries, relatively close succession, and that'll clear it out. But obviously these enemies, you're going to get more damage if you actually do the full rotation. People do use this rotation on single target bosses, which is fine. You can do that. It doesn't do as much damage as obviously a designated single target build, but you'll use your Disheartening Strike to apply the 10% debuff. You Cloud of Steel for probably about 10 hits or so, and then your Disheartening Strike. And then when you go to do your Artifact Call, well, in fact, not your Artifact Call, sorry, just your General, it's just the same sort of rotation you would do, except you do both your Smoke Bomb and Path of Blades, and you're just chipping away like this. And you do a decent bit of damage, but it really is a bit lackluster. And for the Artifact Call, you do your double Blade Flurry, mount, and then belt item and all that sort of stuff. It's just, there you go. So yeah, you use your Artifact, Stealth, Blade Flurry, Smoke Bomb, Path of Blades, do your Hateful Knives, do your Bigby's Hand, double Blade Flurry, and then Smoke Bomb, Path of Blades again. As you see, it works, it does a bit of damage, but it really could be better in single target. But for AoE, this is the most broken thing in the game. It's the most broken AoE in the game. It really just crushes things. It's so good. And in fact, if I combine it with a daily power, unfortunately you can't animation cancel them, but if I do this, it really just wrecks stuff. And I think it's great fun. It really can just wreck stuff. But yeah, most powerful AoE in the game. Fairly simple rotation. Just never letting that Blade Flurry going on cooled down. And that is the Rogue AoE rotation. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up in the Discord. And I will catch you guys again. Goodbye for now.